to the PlanetRoq Podcast, the hottest show in the cosmos. Get ready for insight and inspiration right here on PlanetRoq with your special guest, Mylin Stoddard. And your cosmic guide through our ever-changing space and time, I'm your host, Raquel Herring.
Welcome to the PlanetRoq Podcast, your go-to spot for all things relationships, personal growth, and navigating life's twists and turns, from the depths of dating and marital dynamics to the heights of spiritual journeys, entrepreneurship, money, pets, and plants. We explore every facet of human connection. I'm your host, Raquel Herring, your cosmic companion on this wild ride called life. Each episode of PlanetRoq is packed with insights and inspiration to help you thrive in this ever-changing world. From heartwarming stories to candid conversations, we're here to empower you and uplift your spirits. Tune in every Thursday noon, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time on envision-radio.com, where praise meets talk for some real talk, real people goodness. And don't forget to catch the video replay on YouTube every Saturday. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to stay updated with our latest episodes. Follow me on social media for updates and swing by my website at raquelherring.com to stay connected. We have a wonderful show for you today, so relax, settle in, and let's rock your world one relationship at a time right here on PlanetRoq. Welcome back. On this episode of PlanetRoq, I am thrilled to reconnect with my fellow Mouseketeer. Mylin Brooks-Stoddard is an actress, writer, musician, and mental health advocate with a remarkable life story. Born in the Philippines and raised in the U.S., she starred on the Disney Channel's all-new Mickey Mouse Club. Mylin signed a major record deal, released multiple albums, and toured internationally. Like many of us, despite the highs of her career, she faced the challenges of clinical depression, but emerged stronger, sharing her journey to inspire others. Now she co-hosts all things let me get this right. She co-hosts the All Things My D show on YouTube, discussing life, faith, and mental health. Mylin, welcome to the show, PlanetRoq Podcast.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on your fun show.
Thank you. Mylin is a remarkable talent, and we are going to dive in and find out what's been happening with you, Mylin. Please tell us what's going on right now, your current projects.
Well, let's see. First of all, I am a mom of a wife and a mom. I have two amazing kids. My daughter is 12. Her name is Coco, and my son is Scout. He's 8. So that's a pretty full-time job right now, just managing the household and with 2 kids. But I am I've taken a bit of a hiatus from performance, from auditioning, and that's actually done really, really well for me to have a break from the Hollywood auditioning. And it's been nice. But at times I do get to sing worship at church. But my main focus right now, actually, and it's pretty interesting when you do take a step back from being in the entertainment world, because you realize that you have other gifts, you have other things that wow, I could actually do this, and you don't always know that when you're so fixated on being the talent, being in front of the camera, right? So I have been able to, I'm doing a online course. It hasn't been released yet, but it's going to be an online course for Christian parents who have children that are going to be in the entertainment business. Either they are in the entertainment business or they want to be in the entertainment business. And from my perspective, from having been in the entertainment business for over 30 years, as well as being a believer, I have combined practical skills as well as biblical skills and tools to help these parents understand what their child is getting into in like the real world experience in entertainment industry, even if you're not in Hollywood, even if you're in a small town, you're still dealing with things that are at times, opposing to your faith. But I'm there to encourage them and to give them just tools to help their children thrive once they get into that part of the industry.
Awesome. Do you know when it will be ready for people to enroll?
My desire and my goal is at the beginning of the year.
Okay.
You know how life happens, especially with kids. But I'm pressing forward and I'm creating the content and I'm pushing through it. So I'm hoping and I believe my goal is the beginning of the year.
Awesome. Where can people find you so they can stay updated?
So they can find a lot of my information on my actual website, which is mylinstoddard.com. You can also find me on Instagram, Mylin Stoddard. On Facebook, I don't have a private Facebook. It's actually open to everybody. So those are kind of the main areas that I like to communicate with people. And even as of now, I love posting, inspiring things that uplift instead of adding just crap to the world. I try my best.
You gotta find the words, right?
I'm like, let me choose my words wisely. But there's just so much that's already out there that I want to help people see, good things and encouraging things and thoughtful things, especially with my faith, that can help people grow in their faith. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Awesome. How did it come to you to do this course? Like, what made you just decide I got to do this?
Good question. So I actually originally started out wanting to do this for adults who are already within the entertainment industry, Christian adults, because I just remember even as I was pursuing it, I know there's some communities around that help Christians to walk, but it's more about like praying for each other. There's not, I've never really seen kind of like a course to make you address things and get real with, what's your motivation? Why are you in the entertainment industry? Because those are a lot of questions that I had to deal with, like your identity. Why is your identity, if you know that you are a child of God, why is your identity so based upon, being famous or being successful, and we all struggle with some need for attention in some way, right? So I created a course for adults and actually did a pilot of that with about 8 different women, and it was great. It really did well. But then as I was continuing to refine the program, I ended up seeing the Nickelodeon documentary, and it's the one that I think it's called Quiet on Set, and it talks about how the children, unfortunately, there was sexual abuse on there. There were things that were happening that a lot of the girls on there were being made to do scripts that were way too old, that had way too much sexual connotation, that was inappropriate for kids. And I saw this and it just hit me like there are so many parents who want their children to do well in the business and they want to help their children succeed, but there's so many factors within the business that can put them in compromising situations, and
Right.
it's not like someone sitting around on the set getting ready to harm your child. There's other issues, your struggle with like drugs, with adultery. I mean, there's so many things that this presents. So when I saw this, I just felt really, really sad for the kids. And I felt like, you know what? I believe, especially with Christian parents who want to see everything so like, oh, this is perfect. This is what God has for my kid. Like, I just want to help them open their eyes and
Right.
know that just because you're a Christian, it doesn't mean that you aren't going to find situations that your child is going to be in that's going to cause them harm. And I just really wanted to help kind of hone in and really,
Yeah.
because that's my faith, and because I do understand the business as being, you and I, we were teenagers on these
Yeah.
shows.
Yeah.
We know what it's like, and thank God, being on the all new Mickey Mouse Club, I will speak for myself. I did not have anything of that nature that I dealt with, versus the Nickelodeon show, but it could have been different.
Yeah.
You just never know. So I want to help prepare those parents, and that's why I shifted. And it's been interesting because I've mentioned it to a handful of people, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I need." So
Yeah.
once I have
Good.
it out there, I will let you know.
Absolutely. You know where to find her. Please stay mylinstoddard.com. So stay updated so you'll know when it's happening. Yeah, I mean, it's
Yeah,
really necessary, especially the way the world is going now.
yeah.
And everything's become so worldly success,
Yeah.
money and accolades, but from the
Mhm.
world. And God sees it different. And
Right.
I think trying to get the mind there because you live in this world, okay? So of
Right.
course, there are things in the world that you see, you're like, well, yeah, I would like that. But then,
Absolutely.
you're also a kingdom kid. And you
Right.
got to realize that, what's in the world is not how God defines success or how God
Right.
defines, just life with Him in general. So I think this is going
Exactly.
to be a great course for people and
Thank
for
you.
the children as well, because the children, even when the parents are there all day, like my mom was there all day. I mean,
Right.
and like you, I can't say I had any like issues of like, my mom made sure that even in that environment, I was still a kid, being treated like a kid. And,
Mhm.
she did everything she could to make sure I still maintained being a kid, even in that
Right.
professional environment and afterwards, when we're not at work. And, but some kids, like you say, in Nickelodeon just didn't have it that way. And that's in a lot
Mhm.
of shows. And a lot of
Right.
people won't talk about it, but kids are still vulnerable. You
Absolutely.
just
The most
know.
vulnerable,
Yeah,
because you
the most
want
vulnerable.
to, you're especially at that preteen teen phase, right? You
Yeah,
want so badly to fit in.
right.
You want to fit in, you want to be liked and approved. And so you may say, yeah, I'll try that, or, I'll that won't hurt me one time, nobody's going to know. And
Right.
unfortunately, now, especially with the internet, with social media, I'm so thankful we did not have social media back
Don't you know?
then. Right? Oh my gosh. These poor kids these days, like, just
Nothing's
everything is
private.
exposed. So that's one of the things too that I will speak about, is helping parents understand, with the kids and their social media, to be cautious of their social media, and to make sure, even question if it's necessary for your child to have a social media account, especially if they're younger, just
Mm,
because of all the crazies, out there. Um, so that'll be a part of my discussion, my program as well.
awesome. Awesome. Are you still doing the My D show?
Oh gosh. Dee Dee being one of our former castmates as well in the Mickey Mouse Club, she and
Yes.
I have been best friends since we first met. We met
Wow.
at 14 and we have continued our friendship till this day, and we
That's
still
awesome.
are best friends. And so we came together right after, it was almost after COVID, I think. A little bit
Okay.
after COVID, we decided to do a podcast together. And we've had so much fun just acting goofy and silly and just bantering off of each other. And we've been able to do a good handful of shows, but life has happened.
Right,
And
right.
so it's been on a good little pause, a good little hiatus, but
Okay.
it's our desire to be able to get back on and make it happen again, because it's just fun,
Yeah,
how
it
it
is.
is interviewing. But it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it does.
It's a lot of people think, oh, you can just sit down and boop boop boop. No, there's a lot of work that goes behind it. There's a lot of preparation
Yep.
and studying, to
Yeah.
interview someone. So
Yeah.
that's what we're kind of dealing with too, because she's got her kids and what she's doing. But we
Yeah.
do want to get back to doing it.
Good, good. Awesome. So you've had a journey filled with a lot of highs
Mhm,
and some lows.
mhm,
Can you share one of your most defining moments that shaped
mm.
who you are today?
Wow, that's a big question. One of my
Yeah,
most
yeah.
defining moments. Um, well, I have been blessed with awesome opportunities as far as like in the entertainment world. But I think I'm gonna speak on something that was that really changed my life.
Okay.
So as you had touched upon earlier, you had said that I had dealt with clinical depression.
Yeah.
And at the time when I was a kid and I was experiencing this unnatural sense of sadness,
Mm,
even being on the Mickey Mouse Club, at that time nobody was talking about get help or talk to
right.
someone, right? I
Yeah.
mean, and I know that we did have some people on the show to help talk to us, but it wasn't like I was going around going, oh yeah, I feel so sad all the time, like it just wasn't a thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I'm just dramatic, I'm just an actress, right? That's just
Right.
me.
I'm just
So
dramatic. I'm just an
right,
actress.
that's what I used to say. I'm like, I'm just dramatic, I'm like, this is no big deal, I'm just being an actress. But lo and behold, because it was put off for so long, and my
Mhm.
family, God bless them, I love them, but my dad's from Oklahoma. He's like, y'all are all crazy out there in California.
Right, right, right.
He wasn't like, let's go talk and talk to a counselor. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
now he understands it. Now he gets it. But it wasn't like at the time my parents they would talk to me, but we weren't trying to hash things out. So
Mhm.
I ended up as being on the show kind of dealing with this sense of heaviness that
Mm.
I couldn't make go away. And at
Yeah.
that time, I was not walking as a Christian.
Mhm.
I'd actually been saved, but there was no nurturing of my faith. So I was just like, yeah, I think there's God. Kind
Yeah.
of. So, but I had this really heavy sense of sadness on me,
Mm.
and it went all throughout my teenage years, all throughout my young adult years, and until I finally I met my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time.
Okay.
He was the one who said, because he'd seen people who had dealt with depression and anxiety, and he was the one who kind of confronted me and
Okay.
said, there's more to this than what you think, and you probably should go talk to somebody. And I was like,
Oh,
no,
wow.
I don't need to talk to anybody, I'm fine, I
Yeah.
don't need, I'm just going to pray about it. And we progressed in our relationship and our marriage, it ended up getting more and more and more severe.
Mm.
And I was doing everything. I was praying. I was doing my best to follow God's will. Like I was doing the things. And,
Yeah.
but I wasn't willing to get that help until finally I was like, all right, maybe I should just talk to somebody. So
Mm-hmm.
started talking to a doctor. It was actually a Christian counselor. And she started helping point out the things that I was dealing with. And I'd done this for a while. I'd gotten to the point where I was like, okay, I'm functioning, but I still was resistant to
Mm.
some of the medical things. And it become clinical. It was not just like, oh, I'm
Oh,
sad. It was
wow.
like a point to where I couldn't just get out from under it. And so there was one day after I had my first child, she had turned 1 year old.
Okay.
And this was like the pinnacle. I was at my wit's end. I was so numb and everything in my life was fabulous. There
Mm-hmm.
was like, that's what's so crazy about depression. Clinical depression
Yeah.
is your circumstances can be perfect,
Yeah.
but there's something inside that does not feel right.
Mm.
And so my daughter started crying and I screamed at the top of my lungs. And I said to my husband, and this is, of course, I would have never, ever, ever done this, but I was in such despair. I said, if you don't go get her, I'm going to blow my head off.
Wow.
And while I never would have done that, it just was to the point where obviously I was bad. And
Yeah.
in that moment, I didn't know what to pray. And that scripture came to my mind that was that when you don't know what to pray, that the Holy Spirit will intercede for you and pray
Yeah.
for you. And
Yeah.
instantly in that moment, what popped in my mind was, you need help. You
Mm.
need medication.
Mm.
Because I don't believe in just getting medication if you've not done the work, right? I
Okay.
believe you need to do some work
Mm-hmm.
with counseling, biblical things. But I'd done all of that. And it finally got to the
Mm.
point where this popped into my head. You need help. You can't do it alone and you need medication. And I am not
Wow.
kidding you. From that moment, I called a friend
Yeah.
I called one of my counselors who recommended a doctor who prescribes medication.
Okay.
She put me on the first medicine. I knew within 2 weeks it was not helping me. She put me on another medicine. Within 5 days, I was completely normal.
Wow.
It was almost as if I'd never had depression in my entire life. So
Wow.
whatever the medication did, whatever I was missing, the medication brought everything to full circle. And it's been 12
Mm.
years. I've not had one depressive episode since.
Praise God.
So
Praise God.
God used that moment
Mm-hmm.
where I said the most insane thing to my husband,
Right. Right.
you know, and he brought me to a point where it was like, you need help. And that
Mm-hmm.
pushed me into getting medication. And I've been healed ever since. And that really is the pivotal point of everything, even beyond my career, even beyond doing anything, because now
Yeah.
I'm a completely different person.
Wow.
I'm completely different. And
Interesting.
had I not had that Holy Spirit intervention, to like do something other than just, and of course we know that prayer, I'm not going to say that prayer doesn't heal
Yes.
mental health issues, because I
Yeah.
know that it can.
Yes.
But I firmly believe that we are made of body, we're made of soul, we're made of chemicals. We've got,
Yeah.
DNA. We've got so many
That's right.
things going on in us that not everything can be prayed away.
Yeah.
So that was part of the battle as a believer, was like,
Yeah.
but I'm praying and
Right.
I'm praying and I'm praying. And when I finally merged the two for me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Mm-hmm.
not saying that medication will help everybody, but for me, when I merged the prayer, just Bible study, everything, and teaching myself how to rethink, to not go to the extreme from the get-go, like, oh, life is horrible, no, instead of being like, okay, this situation is not good, but God is going to get me through it, like kind of reframing my thoughts.
Yes.
Then with the medicine, everything was like a holistic strategy, I guess, or just way that God used to help me be healed of the clinical depression. So that's kind of a long story to that, but
but that's good.
I'm a completely different person than when I was on the Mickey Mouse Club,
Wow.
Yeah. It's like I enjoy life now. I can have fun in that I'm free.
That's good. Yeah, because I was going to ask you, like you said, when you got the medication, when those 5 days, that one really worked. And I wanted to like understand, how did you know the difference that it worked,
Great question. Well, because the first one, so what happens in this process is that the doctor that you're working with will usually recommend something, and you don't know what works with you yet because everybody's body's different. So they try one thing. And for me, the first thing that happened was it started making me hyper and overly anxious to the point where, like, I hadn't had that in the past. And what they encourage you to do too is to go at least 3 to 4 weeks with the medication, because a lot of times you'll have these side effects, but it settles and it normalizes. But with this, I think I was in like my second week, close to third week, and I called the doctor. I was like, this is getting weird. I'm starting to like, I can't, this is not good. So she had me get off that. It was a very low dose, like I think people get scared, like, oh, you're going to be addicted. No, it's not like that. It's a very tiny dose. Then the second one that she put me on, I can't even explain it. Within 5 days, it was, the first thing I said was, I feel normal. Like, I don't know what this has ever felt like. Like, I couldn't remember just being like,
you felt calmer, like in your mind.
I felt calm. It's not like people think. There's a difference between an anti-anxiety medicine that's more like it hits the anxiety instantly and it calms you instantly. It's like I don't want to say tranquilizer, but it's kind of has that similar effect. It's not a tranquilizer. Okay. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking more of like the SSRIs that deal with the depression and the long-term sadness. It doesn't, for me, it didn't make me weird feeling. It didn't make me hyped up. It didn't make me feel like I was pretending. Like, it just made me feel like this is what normal feels like. There's no deep sense of being numb or extremely sad. You're just in a state like you are with peace, but you actually have like a little bit of joy.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's weird. I don't know what that feels like. So for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm normal. I feel normal. This is what normal feels like.
Yes.
So I know a lot of people get scared of the medication, and I totally understand, because it took me almost over 20 something years to actually finally do it. But when I was ready, I had done all of the work prior to. So I feel like once I was able to get on the medication, all of the work, all of the thought process, all of the praying, just kind of made it like a holistic package, and it just kind of came together. Yeah. So that's my pivotal life experience. Yeah.
Wow. Well, that's a big one. Because you always read like it's mindset. And yeah, it's mindset, but sometimes, like you say, chemicals and different things,
Yes.
those things need to be balanced. And
Yes.
I think sometimes we discount, we talk about prayer, we talk about God, but God also created people to help.
Right.
We can't discount that. I mean, that's like the whole Christian value thing, people helping
Right.
people. And if we
Right.
discount doctors, we discount the medication, we discount these different things that are available to
Right.
help us, because that's not of God. I don't really see that being true. And I think we
Right.
discount it too much. And now the great thing, like you said, back then, no one was talking about,
Mm-hmm.
mental health really, or talking about, different things someone might be feeling, that there really might be an issue, because,
Right.
it was frowned upon. Like you say, I'm just being dramatic,
Right. Right. Right.
right? And no one's really
That's just who I am.
considering there's a real
Right.
problem. And chemicals
Right.
can actually be off, because we are made of chemicals and they need to be balanced.
Yes.
And, that's why we have people that help. So that's a good thing that, you get
Exactly.
that. I appreciate
Exactly.
you explaining that.
My pleasure.
Having grown
Yeah.
having grown up with such unique experiences, because I mean, you've
Mm.
traveled, you've been signed to record labels, and even with all this, what was going on inside of you, I mean,
Mhm,
even
mhm.
starring on the Disney Channel and the Mickey Mouse Club, how did your childhood fame impact your adolescence and identity?
Woo! Well, it's a loaded question, but it's good, it's good. It's an interesting place to be to have been on such an iconic television show,
Yeah,
to have been with all of these amazingly talented people, like, in one room,
yeah,
and you see a good portion of them as like the biggest celebrities in our time, right? Like
yeah,
the Britneys and the Justin Timberlakes and
yeah. Carrie
my
Russell.
time, Carrie Russell, right?
Yeah,
JC Chasez. I mean, the list goes on, right?
yeah.
And I loved my experience on the show, and it was interesting too because at the time I would go to high school, so we
Okay.
would break, and I would stay in Florida, and I'd go to high school, so it kept me pretty humble, because I think
Mhm.
people in high school weren't like they wanted to pretend like they didn't know who I was. I was in high school, and people in the high school, they were very talented too. I mean, Joey Fatone was at my high
Yeah.
school. So, he ended up getting signed with NSYNC. So there were a lot of talented people. And so they weren't like, oh, it's Mylin from the Mickey Mouse Club. They're just like, yeah, 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 whatever. So it
Right.
kept me pretty humble, right? And
Yeah.
going to school, having like a normal life, and still doing like kid stuff. And then when I moved out to LA, I moved out actually to New York first, and
Okay.
I will never live there again. It's a little too wild for me. It's a little
I
crazy.
tried it too.
Um,
It wasn't my place.
yeah, I just needed green. You
Me
know,
too. I
I
need to
needed
see the
green, and
sun.
I need to
I
see the
couldn't live
sun.
underground.
Yes, and there were a couple crazy people that tried to rob me. I mean, crazy stories.
Wow.
Um, yeah. So ended up moving from there to Los Angeles with Dee Dee. Actually, Dee Dee and I moved out together.
Oh wow,
And
that's awesome.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Kept auditioning. And at that time, once you get off the show, you're thinking, I've been on this hit television show. Like, I, of course, am going to book another show. And God didn't ever allow it. It just in that world of acting, I pursued it for a good while and then finally just realized I'm kind of done with not being able to make anything happen.
Yeah.
And so I switched over to focus on music.
Mm.
And once I did that, that's where I ended up getting signed to, I got signed to a major label in Japan.
Okay.
So, you know how like all the K-pop bands are coming
Yeah.
here and kind of doing their thing here? Well,
Yeah.
I went there.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I got to travel internationally a lot, and I was there, probably did it about 5 years. And in that time, it was still interesting too, because I would come back and I'd have this great experience in Japan, just like, you know, "Oh, it's Mylin," and then I'd come back and I'm like, "Oh, it's just me." Like, not having that insane career. And it started to kind of wear on me in the sense that
Mm.
both Brittany and Christina, at the same time simultaneously when they came out, I had also been I was being courted by a record label to do kind of
Okay.
the same stuff that they were doing,
Okay.
and was looked at by Atlantic Records, and had the head of Atlantic Records come out and come to my show and like was talking to me, and we spent this time doing like, I don't know, we did like 15 demos.
Oh, wow.
And like that, it was, I don't hear a hit,
Mm.
and it was done. So, of course your mind's like, wait, how come?
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with like, well, look at Brittany and Christina, look
Right.
what they're doing. And then I'm like, why didn't this happen for me? And, you start to think, gosh, well, maybe I'm just not as talented, or maybe, but at that time I was a Christian. I was a young Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and it really became it became so apparent to me that's not what God had for me.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably if I compromised or had done a
Mm.
few other things that would have kind of helped put me out there. I mean, I had so
Right.
many things where they'd be like, well, if you just posed in this, or
Right.
took your clothes off here, and because of my faith, I said, no, that's not worth it.
Mm-hmm.
I I'm grateful that
Mm-hmm.
I didn't get to that place, because I feel like not having gotten to that place of fame, um,
Mm-hmm.
has kept me close to the Lord, has
Yeah.
kept me in a 26-year marriage,
Wow.
you
That's
know?
awesome.
Um,
26
yeah,
years. Praise the
this year we
Lord.
celebrated October, 26 years, yeah.
Praise
You know?
God.
And a lot of people can't say that in the entertainment
No,
industry,
no, they cannot.
you know? So, I now see, while at the time I struggled with identity, I struggled with like, well, why is it not me? You know?
Right.
But now I'm like, thank God it's not me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank God. Not that whatever their life, like, God has a different path for them,
Right.
but I don't have to compare my life to theirs,
Right.
and think, we all were on the show. We all are talented. We all
Right.
have gone on to do things. And like you said, in God's eyes, that worldly fame is not success,
Right.
right? God has a different success for us. And so
Yes.
I am grateful. And I believe too that had I gotten to that place of uber fame,
Yeah.
I probably would still have depression today.
Mm.
And I don't even know if
Mm.
I would have kids,
Yeah.
because we waited quite a while
Yeah.
to have
26
kids.
years and an 8-year-old and a
Yeah.
4-year-old, you
Yeah.
said? Yeah.
Yeah. We
Wow.
waited,
Yeah.
and then not only did we wait, then I started having fertility problems,
Okay.
like,
Mm.
so you think, oh, it's going to be a piece of cake. And then you're like, oh, maybe
Not a
not.
piece of
Maybe
cake.
this isn't what God has for me.
Yeah.
You know, so my identity and all that, like, it took me a while to kind of even be able to say, I don't care to do the entertainment business anymore, because I felt like if I stop, then who am I?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I stop, then where's my value?
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And now I know it's not in that. It's not even in me singing or me, my value is just being who God has made me, and
That's right.
doing whatever I can to point back to him, and if
Yeah.
that's getting to be on a TV show or getting to sing or whatever, then great, but
Yeah.
that's not my focus anymore.
Right. That doesn't define you. The industry and
Yes,
the talent doesn't define who you are. Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I
It
know when I
can't,
had to go
because
through
think
that.
about, yeah, I mean, it doesn't, you can't let it define you, because it's not going to last.
Right.
And there's always someone better, right? I always
Right.
kind of, even though there's amazing talent, there's always someone better. So if you're constantly trying to, like, one up, like, you're going to get to a point where you're exhausted.
Exhausted. Right. Yeah. And that's what you kind of have when you're with the labels and when you're doing all this stuff. You're always
Yes.
like one upping, because again, you haven't determined that this isn't my value. This is my work. This is what
Right.
I enjoy doing, but it's not
Right.
my value of me being the person God wants me to be. My value is with him.
Exactly.
The
Right.
world can't define that value for me.
Right.
But that takes time, and I'm sure that's going to be part of your course, because people
Yes.
you have to be able to, splice that,
Yes.
you have to
Yes.
resolve it, because it'll mess you up in the head,
Let me tell
and
you.
like you say, when you don't see it going the way you thought it was going to go, you come off
Mhm.
that show, it's like, this is I'm supposed to blow up,
Right.
then it,
You're like,
it
don't
just
you know who I
deflated.
am?
Like, wait a second.
Like, like, you were on a children's show? You know what I mean? Like,
Right,
it is
right.
really funny, like, how initially when I got off the show and I moved
Mhm.
out to Los Angeles,
Mhm.
it was so funny how it was received. It was
Right.
like, "Oh, a cute children's show." Like, they didn't know
Take
the
it
extent.
seriously.
Yeah, they didn't realize, right? Until all these people started,
Right,
popping off, and
Brittany,
then,
Christina, yeah,
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 Ryan Gosling, right? And then they're like,
right,
"Oh, okay, now
right.
we see what you're talking about." Like, 30 years later.
You're so right. I've interviewed our other fellow Mouseketeers, and they say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
you're coming out there but no one like really understood or even factored in the work that's going into it, because it was the Mickey Mouse Club. I think that kind of
That
maybe,
title.
the Mickey Mouse, you know, but and the fact that we weren't maybe on a major network or whatever, I don't know. But it's like they just didn't take it seriously, and all the work that's going in. I mean, you're having to know, your lines, your blocking, you're having to pick up these dance moves, you're having to pick up the songs, pick up the
Gosh.
harmonies, pick up everything like almost instantly. You didn't have like
Yes.
weeks and days to practice. You had to be on top of it, you know.
Right.
It was a lot, and go to school and
And go to
still try
school.
to have like a kid's life, kind of like social outside of, just our group alone, or just, in
Right.
general. It was work. I'm not even
Right.
sure that kids on major networks work that hard. I can't even say,
I
because
agree.
we were doing it
Right?
all the
We were
time,
doing
every single
3
day.
different things, right? We were
That's right.
singing, dancing,
Yep.
acting, and then, like you said, we were doing music videos. So you
Yep.
had to know, like, where am I standing? How am I performing? What,
That's right.
you had to be on. And then those little segments where we did, like, hey, it's music day, and
Right.
you had to memorize that thing while you're in your makeup and hair chair.
That's right. We didn't have no
Right?
teleprompters and stuff. We didn't have anyone throwing up lines like, this your line, this your line. No.
Oh my gosh. gosh.
And we were in the
It's so
studio
true.
audience.
Exactly. Doing it in front of these kids. And I don't know if you ever had a situation where you couldn't stop laughing.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Those were the times where you would try to sharpen, and then you just kept cracking up, and finally, like, Joe would come over and he'd be like, "Guys, this is
Right,
money."
right.
Like, you can't keep doing that. So it's like,
Right.
you just
Joe would come over to Lindsay and I. We did a pig's end, and for some reason we just could not stop laughing. We just could not. And every time she would say, "Ooh, that's delicious." Oh my gosh. Every
you
time
lost
I could not stop it, and it was tough. It took some work getting through that
Oh my
scene.
gosh. Oh, those were fun though. Fun times.
Great days, great days. Yes. Well, let's shift a little bit and talk about being a mother. Being a mother and a
Yeah.
public figure. How do you manage it? How did you manage it to keep your family grounded and
Mm,
maintain a sense of normalcy?
mm. Uh, First God, and second, my husband.
Mhm.
Um, Having someone who is extremely supportive and
That's
who is
wonderful.
also a believer,
Mhm.
so we we know when there are issues, we know who to go to first,
Mhm.
you know,
Mhm.
and we have that in common. So that's been the core of our marriage.
Great.
And being a mom has been amazing and challenging, and I know everybody says this, but it really is. Like, you learn how selfish you are,
Oh, wow.
how, like, what you struggle with,
Mm.
patience, anger.
Mhm.
Um, you quickly find out what it is that you deal with that you don't know until you have kids.
Wow.
Because they're little humans and they've got their own agenda, right?
Yeah.
All of us trying to do our own thing, right? Like, you saw my
Right.
kid comes down, he's like, I'm like, get upstairs.
Right, right. Take care of me, take care of me.
Yeah, he's like, I'm hungry. I'm like, I know, buddy. Um I'm like, I threw up some candy or some cookies for you earlier. You're fine.
Right, right. Eat that. We're good.
It's you really do learn, like, having kids has a godly purpose,
Okay.
and not everybody has kids and not everybody wants to have kids, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Not everybody is meant to have kids.
Mhm.
But for me, it's helped me to have more mercy,
Mm.
because when I see the things that they deal with or struggle with
Mhm.
emotionally, or just like can't control their temper or whatever, I see the reflection of me, like,
Ah.
oh, I'm kind of that way too. And so it's just like, okay, Lord, people always say don't pray for patience, because he's going to make you have those situations where you have to
That's
actually
what my
put it
mom says
into
all the
action.
time. Yeah.
So I'm like, just give me grace, like, so it's like a daily thing, just like, all right, Lord. Sometimes I'm literally in here going, when are you coming, Jesus? Because I can't handle it, you know. But what has been cool, especially like with all of our little reunions we've been doing, it's
Yes.
given me a creative outlet. It's given me kind of
Awesome.
like I've scratched that itch,
Yeah.
getting to go and perform here and there, or just be with everybody, in
Yeah.
that environment, and the fans and stuff. That has kind of helped me not feel like I have to do it all,
Ah,
you
good.
know? with kids, because I know that my kids are my priority.
Right.
And even in the midst of me making my program, it's like, and then full time, getting them to practice and doing what they need to do. But I think it's parenthood and balancing all of that. It's just a day at a time. It really is. Like, God, give me what I need today.
Yeah.
Because and their emotions too, like every day, especially with my 12-year-old daughter, she's going through the hormones, and one day she's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then the next she's like, nobody likes me, and then it's like dealing with all those ups and downs. And I just went, I like that when I was that young. I'm sure I was, but again, my parents didn't ask me about it. So
okay. So you talked about our coming together as a group, and we've been going places and performing and like really like getting to know each other. That's the best thing, because we were on different shows, right? And we're getting to know each other. I've been able to hang out with you in Tennessee. It was so much fun. I got a chance to like sit with you and talk with you at dinner, and that was great, right? I really enjoyed that. I enjoyed us connecting. And you talked about being creative in the music. Please tell us about your albums, because you have several albums out there.
I've got quite a few. Yeah. So when I was on the record label, I had done, I think it was 5. I can't remember. One was like a all everything, like the best of, but that was more like dance. It was like douche, 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 douche.
I love that.
That was the thing. Japan, that was their thing, and that's what I did. And then so after I was on the record label, I decided, okay, I want to actually attempt to write myself. So on my own, I started to pursue more of an independent artist path.
Okay.
And so I wrote, I think I did 4 albums. I wrote 4 albums and had them produced, and did it the indie way, said, forget about the label, and toured and did a lot of stuff for military bases. And I actually even got to open up for Patti LaBelle, and then Drew Lachey, kind of random fun things. But so that was a whole different life with all my music.
And where can people find your music?
So if they go to my website, MylinStoddard.com, they can actually find links there to all of the music.
Awesome.
I have all of that listed. They can find it there.
Awesome. I love the I love that. Yeah.
And it was so fast though. It was always crazy, performing it live, because I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm like, oh my God. So it was an experience.
I love it. Well, now they have the Japanese R&B.
Yes. Well, and at that time, that's what I was trying. I kept trying to push that way, because I had the American influence, right? I'm like, let's do more pop R&B. And we attempted it, but at that time it wasn't really hot. So I ended up needing to go back to the dance music. But now look at all this. Yeah, it's all Americanized pop R&B, and
sometimes you're just ahead of your time.
Yes.
You hear it before everybody jumps on it, and then it's like, well, wait a second, I was doing that.
Right. Been there, done that.
Yeah. But now, wait a second, your performances at high profile events like President Clinton's inaugural ball, that must have been an incredible experience.
That was fun. That was with the Mickey Mouse Club.
Was it?
Yeah. So right after we did, I think it was my last season, the 5th season, we were asked to perform for his inaugural ball. And so we danced, and it was like me, Rona, Tony, Ricky Luna, Jennifer McGill, Kevin Osgood. Yeah, we were all flown out there and got to be, and we met Boyz II Men and Kenny Loggins. And trying to think who else was there. Gosh, it was a long time ago. But yeah, that was And I think he played the saxophone or something. I can't remember all that.
What?
Yeah, it was funny. It was good.
That is awesome. Any more memorable moments, stories you could share with us?
From the show or
Just in general, from your working with people, working with different artists or producers, from being in Japan?
Yes. I got to open up for what was his name? Fight for Fighting, John Ondrasik. He's still amazing. He's like a one-man band, but he plays the piano, and it was at a military base, and I got to open for him, and he was so kind. Like, he came up after, and I'm like, but he came up after and congratulated me. It was very sweet. I've gotten to meet a whole bunch of really cool people.
That's awesome.
Do a lot of awesome things, performed in the center of New York City, like Times Square, and so just fun experiences that most people don't get to have.
That's awesome. Mylin, thank you so much for coming on PlanetRoq, sharing your story, being transparent, and allowing us to be on that journey with you through life and where you are now. We're looking forward to your course, Christian course for kids, parents who want to get their kids in the entertainment business or already entertainment business. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing your heart.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, Rocky.
Thank you. Well, we hope to have you back again. I hope you'll come back. And thank you all for say it again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. That's what we like to hear. Well, thank you all so much for coming to listen to PlanetRoq. You could have been any place else, but you came here, spent some time with us, heard Mylin's story and just her life and journey. Just amazing. Thank you all so much. Tune in next Thursday, 12 noon on envision-radio.com. Have a great rest of the week.
What an awesome show full of insight and inspiration. Thank you to our guests and listeners. Look forward to hearing us next week on envision-radio.com at 12 noon, right here on PlanetRoq.